You're not free, you're not safe, and you're not in control. Right now, over $315 trillion in global debt hangs over your head like a noose, and you didn't sign any of it. You were born into a financial prison where your labor funds billionaires, your data trains the AI that replaces you, and your children are collateral for loans you never agreed to. Your every move is tracked. Your choices are filtered. Your education was a script, and your savings can be legally seized during the next bank restructuring. They told you the system was broken. They lied. The system is working exactly as designed, and once you understand how it was built, you'll see why you will never escape. 10. You don't own your bank account. It's a lease, revocable at will. You probably think the money in your bank account belongs to you, that it's sitting in a vault somewhere, safe and sound, waiting for you to withdraw it. But here's the truth. They don't want you to understand. Legally, once you deposit money into a bank, it's no longer yours. It becomes the bank's property. What you have is an IOU, a promise that they'll give it back when they can, if and if you're allowed. This isn't theory, it's law. In the US, UK, EU, Australia, virtually every Western economy, your deposits become unsecured liabilities of the bank. If the bank fails, you go to the back of the line behind creditors, bondholders, and governments. This was proven in 2013, when Cyprus raided personal bank accounts to bail out its failing banks. Thousands of people woke up to discover their savings were gone. Confiscated, legally. It was called a bail-in, and now it's baked into international banking law. In 2014, the G20 approved the Financial Stability Board's directive that banks could confiscate deposits to recapitalize themselves. You agreed to this, by the way. It's in the fine print of your account agreement. Go check. In the US, FDIC insurance only covers $250,000, and only if the fund isn't depleted. But that fund has just $121 billion to cover over $9 trillion in deposits. That's 1.3 cents for every dollar. If two major banks fail, the fund vanishes overnight. So what happens to your life savings? You wait, you beg, you hope, you sue, and you learn the hard way that in the system, ownership is an illusion. Even your cash isn't cash. It's digits, subject to freezing, blocking, or seizure. Try withdrawing $20,000 in cash tomorrow. You'll trigger an investigation. Because in this system, financial freedom is a red flag, and the cage is invisible. 9. The middle class is not shrinking. It's being engineered into extinction. You've probably heard that the middle class is vanishing. But that's not the full truth. It's not just vanishing. It's being surgically dismantled. Because in the system, there's no profit in a stable, self-sufficient population. The real money is in fragility, keeping people productive enough to earn but dependent enough to never escape. Consider this. In 1971, the average American worker needed just one income to buy a home, raise a family, and save for retirement. Today, two incomes barely keep pace, and most households are still living paycheck to paycheck. The median real wage adjusted for inflation hasn't grown in over 50 years. But productivity has skyrocketed. Workers are 3x more productive than in 1971. So where did the gains go? To the top 1%, whose share of national income rose from 8% to over 20%. The bottom 90%, you saw no change. And here's the kicker. The tax code, housing market, education system, and healthcare industry were all redesigned to make sure you'd stay right where you are, trapped. Median home prices now exceed $420,000. Student loan debt is $1.7 trillion. Health insurance costs the average family $24,000 a year. You can't pay off your house, save for retirement, raise kids, and survive a medical emergency, not all at once. That's not a failure. It's the goal. Keep you too comfortable to rebel, too stressed to fight back. And they dangle upward mobility like a carrot. But 93% of people born poor in America die poor or middle class. The ladder is missing rungs. The game is rigged. And the middle class? It's not shrinking because of bad luck. It's being sacrificed, turned into fuel for a system that rewards wealth hoarding and punishes independence. You were never meant to escape. You were meant to aspire, consume, and comply. That's the role they wrote for you. Every major protest movement is quietly tracked, infiltrated, and redirected. You think rebellion is possible? That if enough people got angry, stood up, and marched in the streets, the system would change? Let me explain something that should terrify you. Mass movements are not just monitored, they're manufactured. In 1971, the FBI launched COINTELPRO to surveil, discredit, and neutralize civil rights leaders. They wiretapped Martin Luther King Jr., fabricated evidence, and tried to drive him to suicide. That program never ended. It just changed names. Today, every major protest from Occupy Wall Street to Black Lives Matter to anti-lockdown demonstrations is monitored in real time. Your phone, your texts, your location. Protest permits are issued, routes are coordinated with law enforcement, surveillance drones map crowd behavior, and embedded informants steer narratives. Don't take my word for it. Read the leaked documents. In 2020, the NSA tracked protester metadata and partnered with Palantir, a private firm funded by the CIA, to build predictive behavior models. This isn't security, it's control. The goal isn't to stop violence, it's to co-opt rage before it threatens power. During Occupy, leadership was fractured by infiltration. Agents created division, pushed absurd demands, and steered the movement toward irrelevance. The Facebook groups are run by sock puppet accounts tied to defense contractors. And when resistance goes viral, the system doesn't panic. It adapts. It offers you merch. It gives you hashtags, brand sponsorships, and a Netflix documentary. Your rebellion becomes their profit center. That's the true genius of the system. It doesn't fight dissent, it monetizes it. And the more you believe you're resisting, the deeper you fall into their algorithms. They don't need to silence you. They just need to listen, adapt, and sell your outrage back to you at a markup. 7. The education system doesn't teach you how to think, it programs you to obey. You were trained, not taught. From kindergarten to college, the curriculum is carefully crafted, not to create thinkers, but to manufacture compliant labor. The system doesn't want critical minds, it wants cogs, and the data proves it. American public schools were modeled on 19th century Prussian military academies, designed to instill punctuality, obedience, and blind respect for authority. The bells, the desks, the memorization, it's not about learning. It's about conditioning. And it works. A 2019 Gallup poll showed that 62% of American adults believe the U.S. government works for the people, despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary. Why? Because they were never taught to question. Schools don't teach financial literacy, logic, negotiation, or systemic analysis. But they'll drill you on the War of 1812, trigonometric identities, and the quadratic formula, useful trivia that reinforces one lesson: do what you're told. University is no different. Tuition has risen 1,400% since 1978, far outpacing inflation. Student debt now traps 45 million Americans, locking them into decades of wage slavery. And what do they get in return? Degrees with diminishing value, taught by adjuncts making below minimum wage, while administrators rake in seven-figure salaries. Academia has become a cartel, gatekeeping credentials, crushing dissent, and punishing deviation. Professors who challenge institutional narratives are blacklisted. Students who think differently are flagged. And worst of all, the system convinces you it's your fault. Didn't succeed? Must not have tried hard enough. Can't pay your loans? Should have picked a better major. They never ask why a better major costs 6 figures in the first place. Because the truth would reveal the machine. Education isn't liberation. It's indoctrination. You weren't taught to escape. You were taught to accept. And the smartest students aren't the ones who question the system. They're the ones who learn to mimic it, perfectly. 6. Every product you use is designed to fail, because your dependence is the product. Nothing you buy today is built to last. That toaster that broke after 18 months? Planned. Your iPhone battery that degrades after 500 charges? Engineered. This isn't bad design, it's perfect design. Welcome to planned obsolescence, the systemic practice of designing goods with intentionally limited lifespans to guarantee repeat purchases. In 1924, the Phoebus cartel, a secret alliance between GE, Osram, and Philips, agreed to cap the lifespan of light bulbs at 1,000 hours. Before that, bulbs could last 500+ hours. But longer life meant fewer sales. So they sabotaged the product, and the model worked. Today, it's everywhere. Printers have chips that disable them after a preset number of pages. TVs are glued shut to prevent repair. Laptops use proprietary screws to block access. And when something breaks, replacement parts are more expensive than buying new. The average American throws away 70 pounds of electronics per year. Not because they're obsolete, but because they were designed to become obsolete. Even software is part of the trap. Updates slow down old devices, disable features, and quietly phase out support. Apple was fined for throttling iPhones with aging batteries. Microsoft ends support to force Windows upgrades. Your digital tools have expiration dates. Not for safety, for profit. And it's all legal. Because the FTC and EU regulators are staffed by ex-lobbyists and corporate lawyers. They pretend to regulate while cashing stock options. But the real cost isn't just financial. It's psychological. You're trained to expect failure, to accept fragility. And every time something breaks, you're nudged back into the system to buy, borrow, upgrade, repeat. Because in the system, reliability is rebellion. Independence is dangerous, and a durable product is a lost customer. Your labor is taxed, their wealth is not. The harder you work, the more you're punished. That's the system in a sentence. Wages are taxed first, spent last. Capital gains, unearned income are taxed later, if at all. Let's break it down. If you make $60,000 a year as an employee, you pay income tax, Social Security, Medicare, and possibly state and local taxes. You pay before you even see the money. But if you're a billionaire with $1 billion in stock, you pay nothing unless you sell. And even then, it's taxed at 0.20% compared to your 22-35%. Worse, billionaires don't sell. They borrow against their assets. Jeff Bezos doesn't cash out Amazon stock. He uses it as collateral to get 1% interest loans, tax-free. Elon Musk did the same thing to buy Twitter. They live off borrowed money and never trigger a taxable event. That's why ProPublica revealed that the 25 richest Americans paid a true tax rate of 3.4% from 2014 to 2018. You paid 20%. You paid more. And the IRS? They audit low-income earners at 5 times the rate of the wealthy. Why? Because poor people can't afford lawyers. Because the rich write the tax code. The carried interest loophole. The stepped-up basis, offshore trusts, shell corporations, all legal, all designed. And who pays for the system? You do. Half of all U.S. federal revenue comes from income and payroll taxes. Only 7% comes from corporate taxes. The rest? Borrowed. To be paid back with your future labor. That's the game. You work, they collect, you comply, they loophole. And you're told it's fair, that you should be grateful, that billionaires are job creators. But in reality, you're the product. Your time, your sweat, your taxes, fueling a machine designed to ensure one thing: they keep climbing, and you stay exactly where you are. 4. Your data isn't private, it's the new currency of control. You've been told your privacy matters, that your data is protected, that companies value your trust. But here's what they won't say out loud. You are the product, and your data is their currency. Every tap, every scroll, every hesitation on a web page, it's recorded, analyzed, and turned into predictive models that know you better than you know yourself. In 2024 alone, the global data brokerage industry was worth over $330 billion, yet you weren't paid a cent for the information they mined from your life. Why? Because you were never meant to profit. You were meant to provide. Google knows your search history, your location, your voice, your face, and with Gmail, your thoughts. Facebook knows your friends, fears, politics, and private messages. Amazon knows your shopping patterns, your household needs, and when you're likely to run out of toilet paper. TikTok knows your attention span, your insecurities, and the exact second you get bored. And it's not just big tech. Data is traded between banks, insurance companies, health providers, schools, law enforcement, even intelligence agencies. You are part of a behavioral surveillance economy, so massive, so precise, and so invisible, you don't even know what you're consenting to anymore. That app you downloaded for recipes? It's scraping your contacts. That free browser extension? It's selling your keystrokes. That smart TV? It's listening, even when it's off. And here's the kicker. It's all legal. Buried in 30-page terms and conditions nobody reads. You click accept and surrender your digital soul. And the system? It uses that data not just to sell you things, but to shape you. Algorithms don't just predict behavior, they engineer it. They decide what you see, who you trust, what you buy, how you vote. In the system, freedom of thought isn't killed, it's redirected, personalized, packaged, and sold, right back to you. 3. You think you're choosing, but your choices are pre-selected, pre-filtered, and pre-approved. You believe in free will. You think you're making decisions. But here's the brutal truth. You're choosing between options that were selected for you by an algorithm you didn't design, running on a platform you don't control, built by people you'll never meet, for reasons you'll never understand. Go to Google and search how to escape the system. The first results? Clickbait, ads, forum debates that lead nowhere. No mention of real structural exit. Go to Amazon to find survival gear or independent living tools. Everything is commercialized, branded, and owned by the same 5 conglomerates. Even the alternative is part of the system. Your entire digital experience is a funnel, narrowing your field of vision based on engagement data, ad revenue, and social modeling. Netflix doesn't show you every movie, it shows you what it wants you to watch. YouTube doesn't surface the most accurate content. It surfaces what keeps you hooked. And that food delivery app? It's not offering the best meal. It's offering the one with the highest margin or ad spend. Every swipe, tap, and like feeds a feedback loop that locks you deeper inside a customized cage. You're not the user, you're the trained animal. The system shows you doors, then gives you a gold star for walking through the one it opened. Even rebellion has been pre-modeled. Want to escape capitalism? Here's a tote bag and a $90 minimalist hoodie made by child labor in Bangladesh. Want to fight the system? Post an Instagram story with a branded hashtag and let the dopamine hit trick you into thinking you've done something. Real options, exit, independence, off-grid autonomy, are buried, deranked, throttled, demonetized. You're not censored, you're filtered. And the most dangerous censorship isn't what you can't see. It's what you never even know existed. 2. Your beliefs aren't yours. They're installed. You were programmed, from birth. Layer by layer. Thought by thought. You don't believe what you believe because it's true. You believe it because you were told to. Repeatedly. Persuasively. Persuasively enough that eventually you forgot there was ever a question. Your political alignment? Installed by parents, peers, and algorithms. Your religious identity? Installed by geography. Your economic ideology? Installed by textbooks funded by billionaires. And every time you updated your beliefs, it wasn't based on raw truth, it was based on curated information designed to shift your perception. Ever notice how everyone thinks they're the rational one? The free thinker? The independent mind? Meanwhile, they all echo the same phrases, repeat the same memes, and draw the same red lines around what's acceptable to question. That's not coincidence. That's conditioning. This is why propaganda doesn't need to scream anymore. It just needs to blend in. In 2023, a leaked report revealed that over 50 military and intelligence-linked accounts were operating on social media platforms, posing as influencers. They didn't push lies. They nudged narratives. They used humor, identity, aesthetics, anything to shift emotional framing. Now imagine that, but scaled to billions of data points, optimized by machine learning, deployed by governments, think tanks, corporations, NGOs. You were never meant to think critically. You were meant to feel correct, to crave validation. And the system gives you the exact emotional reward for the exact belief they want you to hold. You're angry at the other side because they're wrong, but they're angry at you for the same reason. And neither of you asks, who wrote the script? In the system, belief isn't something you discover. It's something you download. And the people who control the pipeline of information? They don't need to convince you they're right. They just need to make sure you never ask the wrong question. 1. You are the collateral. This is the part they never say out loud. The final truth. The one that connects it all. You, your body, your labor, your future, are the asset that underwrites the entire system. Governments don't borrow based on gold. They don't borrow based on land. They borrow based on you, on your productivity, on your promise to work, to consume, to comply. That's why every baby born in the developed world is assigned a social security number, tracked from cradle to grave, and modeled as a lifetime taxpayer. It's why national debt is framed per citizen. It's why your labor is automatically collateralized via payroll withholding. And it's why when governments issue bonds, they're not just borrowing money, they're borrowing your time. You are the guarantee. Not just in the US either. In 2023, the IMF reported that over 80% of sovereign debt globally is underwritten by citizen tax revenue. You are the asset. And when the debt burden grows, they don't liquidate capital, they squeeze you harder. Higher taxes, higher inflation, later retirement, lower benefits, and you accept it, because the system has trained you to see yourself not as a sovereign individual, but as a participant in a collective obligation you never agreed to. You don't vote on bond issuance. You don't get a say in foreign aid, in corporate bailouts, in trillion-dollar wars, but you pay for them, And when the machine needs more fuel, it doesn't tax billionaires, it taxes you, or prints money and inflates away your savings. Because in the final analysis, you are the resource being extracted. Your despair, your ambition, your attention, they're the raw materials. And when the system says we need to stabilize the economy, what they really mean is we need to extract more value from the people still trapped inside it. You are not free. You are monetized. So now you know, this isn't a conspiracy theory. It's documented structure, enforced through laws you didn't vote for, by banks you don't control, with rules that don't apply to them. You're not a citizen in a democracy. You're a participant in a debt-based extraction machine that views you as yield. Every hour you work, every dollar you earn, every choice you think you made, feeds a system designed to keep you compliant, distracted, and in debt until the day you die. Your future was collateralized before you even knew what money was. Your freedom was mortgaged for someone else's power, and your consent, it was assumed. Now ask yourself, why don't schools teach this? Why don't politicians ever talk about it? Why does every rebellion get monetized, every solution get buried, and every crisis lead to more control, not less? Because you were never meant to see it. But now you do. So here's the real question. What are you going to do with it? Because the system won't collapse from outrage. It won't vanish, because you're awake. It only ends when enough people stop feeding it. And until then, you're not living in the system. You are the system.